Hey everybody, welcome to Music Biz Live. My name is Portia Sabin. I'm the president of the Music Business Association. And this is Onward and Upward. Merriam-Webster defines onward and upward as toward a better condition or higher level. And I like that definition because it acknowledges what a challenging year 2020 has been for all of us. And I want to make sure that we hold a space for those challenges, even as we regroup and look ahead. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Towalame Austin, the EVP of Philanthropy and Social Impact at Sony Music Group.
Hi,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to see you here on this. I'm out on Eastern Long Island and it's drizzly and cold and bleh.
I'm in Los Angeles. It's a little overcast, but definitely still having a little bit of a heat wave here.
Oh wow, but the smoke is gone.
I'm about, well, most of the fires right now are up north. So it's clearing up for us here in Southern California, but you can definitely still feel, the remnants of the fires and, the land that was lost and, people that were impacted by the fires are always forever present.
Yeah, it's been such, I feel like the summer is just one thing after another.
Yeah. And it's terrible what's happening in Northern California. I was watching the news yesterday, and a lot of the wineries are burning down, and just it's just horrible. So hopefully we can get this environment together, among other things that are happening in this world.
Oh my gosh, I know. I feel like a summer where murder hornets is the smallest story is really some kind of summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I wanted to talk to you today specifically about philanthropy and charitable giving, because obviously with COVID-19, with the economic situation that we are finding ourselves in, our industry has come together in such an amazing way to try and give back and put together some resources for people who are struggling, and they're a legion and they're across the board in our industry, all sorts of, but from artists to people who own venues to people who are in the live industry to retail stores. I mean, so many people are struggling right now.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start out by talking to you about your path to philanthropy, because it's sort of an interesting niche to be in, and you're definitely firmly in that niche. So how did you get to philanthropy as a career?
As a career through volunteerism. How so early in my career I volunteered with Magic Johnson, which is where I spent a good portion of my adult career working for him. Started out volunteering. I was invited to volunteer for a few fundraisers by a good friend that also worked there, and uh, ended up volunteering for those fundraisers, and was asked to keep coming to volunteer, and volunteered a few more times. And this was early on, there was an opening at as a receptionist for the organization. And I got a call to just come in and help them, answer phones while they did a search, for a receptionist. And I was like, sure. It was during, winter break from school. So, I was fine with that. And then I was asked to stay. And I was like, well, I'm in school, so I would still need to go to school, but yeah, I'll stay. And ended up staying there, flipping, and ended up going to night school, and was there for 16 years and worked my way through the different positions there at the organization. So had an opportunity to pretty much learn every facet of the business, from, the front desk to running programs. I ended up running a lot of their scholarship program, our HIV and AIDS program, technology centers. We had about 50 technology centers across the US when the digital divide was, the gap was even bigger. We're dealing with that now in the land of COVID and, inner city youth having access to Wi-Fi and the internet. And at that time, it was just having access to internet and devices and so forth. So very similar sort of thing happening now, given where we are. And I worked through programs, ended up doing a lot of the fundraisers, and ended up managing sponsors. And love sort of that fundraising and donor cultivation space. And then was asked to be the vice president. Their opening came there, and I was sort of thrusted into that into that position. And same thing when the opportunity for the president came available as a vice president. I was sort of interim president when our current president had took another job, and I did that for about almost a year actually, and they never hired another president. And then so finally it was just like, okay, you're already doing the work, and kind of was sort of thrusted into that position as well. So that's the short version of that trajectory, but that happened over a 16-year time period. So got to
Wow.
know pretty much every facet of the nonprofit business with him.
I love that because we did an event like this called Next Gen U for students. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I think students always want to know is like, what was your career path and how did you plan it? And I feel like nobody plans it. Like that, I mean, some people plan it, but it almost always that has an element of serendipity to it. Like just I volunteered, and then 16 years later, I
The
was the
only thing that
president.
I plan to volunteer, and then I plan to, obviously take the job, which was also just kind of at a non-conventional time within my life. I was in school, so I had to make a decision to kind of switch to night school, and so that was just another thing that I planned, was just sort of making sure that my education was still first and foremost, even though I was working for this amazing human and businessman and an individual who was even a proponent of education, back then. It was just like, yeah, definitely no problem. So was fortunate in that way to be working for someone who understood, and it's a small company as well. So that wasn't, it was a great opportunity that I was able to take advantage of.
So you said something interesting that made my ears pricked up. You said, I like fundraising and donor cultivation. So now that is a special personality type
I
to
know.
enjoy doing those things. What is it that you love about that?
I think it's working with people, and also I think on the also I love just the marketing side of it. When I was with him, we had a big fundraiser every year called the Midsummer Night's Magic, and that fundraiser was about 4 days of events. We entertained over 40,000 people here in Los Angeles. There was a big basketball game. We sold out the Staples Center for a number of years in a row. And even before that, I'm going to age myself here. It was, we had the game at the Forum. Um, so it was a huge event, that had a number of different, there was a concert. There was a student track because we had a scholarship program. So we flew in all of our scholarship students. We had about 150 scholarship students at the peak of the organization's program. So there was that track happening, but it was just, really cool, just, planning all of these sort of activations with these sponsors. This was, before the economic downturn when it happened around 2008. So this was before then, and just planning these amazing events and um, uh, working with our supporters, the people who had donated money to the organization and also donated money to the events, and just that management of it. I don't know, it was just something that I gravitated towards, and really enjoyed, just watching these things come to fruition. And then really just the meaning behind it as well. I mean, we were also sending kids to college. They were on, 4-year scholarships with us, and we were with them throughout their college career, depending on how long that took. Some of them a little bit longer. We were like, okay, guys, need you guys to get it together. But for the most part, with them throughout their college careers, and, just watching that happen and watching their faces, even though I wasn't that far in age from them, but was sort of blessed with this opportunity in this position to really drive a lot of that activity with the organization. So I don't know, it was just something about, just working with these donors and watching these things that you have been planning sort of manifest, and knowing that it was for a good cause. And I was just super, super, super amped about it. Super amped about it. I was, a hard worker, first one in, last one to go, work around the clock, slept with my phone in my hand, all the things they tell you you shouldn't do. That's what I did. So, but it was something that I enjoyed and I didn't mind. And it didn't, I wasn't, this was, in my mid to late 20s. So, work-life balance, I didn't even know what that meant at the time. So that was my life. I was in school and I was working for an amazing brand, doing something that I really enjoyed. And that I found out that I enjoyed in that, as I was doing it. It wasn't like I had always been like a planner or, worked with donors in that capacity. That was my first experience. And it was an area that I spent the most time when I was there with the company. So it was just something that I naturally gravitated to.
It's amazing. So what did you learn from your time with the Magic Johnson Foundation in terms of like the impact of charitable giving? Because I feel like it's sort of, it blesses those who get, the bounties, but it also blesses the people who give money
Yeah.
to some extent.
Oh God, so many things. So I guess, when you're thinking about the people that it impacts, right? So one, just working for a brand, like Magic Johnson, people kind of fly out of their seats the minute you say the name. But, also being able to come in and say, hey, we're going to give you a scholarship if you've been approved for a scholarship, or telling, working with, vulnerable communities and doing testing, and, whether it was a negative or a positive test for HIV, just the opportunity to even get tested. A lot of people didn't have health insurance or health care, and, weren't necessarily afforded the opportunity to know their status. So, they knew that, this was a safe brand. And if we were doing an event that they felt safe, they trusted us and they trusted our partners. And we were just sort of the conduit to bring people together, bring these businesses together, bring them to communities, and offer these services to them that they didn't necessarily have access to. So that was rewarding. And the same thing with our technology centers. I mean, we were in, we had 50 centers across the country, and we were in, again, at that time, our model was sort of following the footprint where he had businesses. So if it was a Magic Johnson Theater or Starbucks or wherever he had businesses in these markets, we would, go in and service those communities with the programs that we were providing. So it was everything with these centers. Some of them were in housing projects, some of them were in community centers, some of them were in schools, some of them were in different park and recreation centers. So just watching the community come in and take advantage of the services, whether it was teaching sort of the senior citizen population during the day when kids were in school, teaching them how to get online and just learn about the community, or teaching sort of the working population. There was classes about how to do a resume and how to, look for a job. And there was just different services, wraparound services that were catered to those particular communities. So just watching and knowing that that without those centers there, or without the scholarship program, or without these sort of HIV and AIDS initiative that we had at the time, then these populations probably would not have access to this information or to these tools or, to these opportunities to take care of themselves or advance themselves in life and in school. So that was really rewarding. And then I think from just working with the company at such a young age and growing within the company and working across the business, I mean, it was no limit to what you could do or what you couldn't do. I mean, if you were interested in it, you could do it. I mean, I think I was a receptionist. I was also running the scholarship program and our toy drives, like, small things that I can do at the front desk. But then I was also helping out the development person with some of the things that they need for the sponsors and for the event. I was at the front desk for the event. So I was all over all over the company, learning the business unknowingly, but because I was interested and because I was curious and because, I'm a busybody, I wanted to sort of be sort of in the loop and in the mix and I'm, also, I guess a servant by nature. You have to kind of be within, working in this business. I also wanted to help, wherever I could and make sure that people knew I was there and I wanted to help. So that got me in some good trouble and that got me sometimes in some bad trouble with overextending myself. So those were some hard lessons that I had to learn. But I think to answer your question, that's what really sort of attracted me to philanthropy, and then learning my strengths. Even though I ran programs that wasn't always a strength of mine, I had to practice and and really sort of hone in on those talents and skill sets. But some things came naturally and some things just didn't. So learning a lot through the process there.
Definitely. So after your time at Magic Johnson's Foundation, you moved to Rock Nation and you were there for 7 years and you did a lot of work. I mean, you guided the charitable efforts of big stars like Rihanna and DJ Khaled and Mariah Carey. And I'm interested, in knowing when you are talking to an artist about what they want to do in philanthropy for the first time, how do you guys figure out what it is that they want to do? Is it based on passion? Is it based on, their particular, what it is that they're trying to express?
Yes, it's 100% based on their passion and what they want to do, and the areas that they want to work in, and the communities that they want to work in. And sometimes that's very. Some people know exactly what that is. Rihanna knew exactly what she what she wanted to do. She was very intuitive in that way, and she had been introduced to philanthropy at a very early age, way before I came in her life. When she first started her career, I believe at 16 or 17, she was doing a lot of ambassador work and working with different organizations and championing different causes, and using her voice and her resources to really promote those causes. And when she wanted to start her foundation is when I got the call. I was actually, after I left Magic Johnson, I moved to Miami for about 1.5 years and worked with Alonzo Mourning and his wife Tracy Mourning there in Miami, and working with them on sort of relaunching their foundation. So when I got the call, I was there, and I had just gotten there. I had been there maybe like 8 months. And then I got a call that, Rihanna wants to start a foundation, and, did I want the job? And I was like, oh my God, I just moved from Los Angeles to Miami. It had been like 8 months, but then I was just like, of course, so I took the opportunity, but she knew exactly what she wanted to do, and she was very sort of on point with how she wanted to get it done. She knew she wanted to do something in Barbados, which we did. With her grandmother passed away of of cancer. And although her grandmother was in New York at the time, they're from Barbados. And in Barbados, the population is probably about 250, 275,000 people. There's one public hospital there. And within that hospital, they had one piece of cancer treatment equipment that was operable in the oncology department. So she completely revamped that oncology center there. I think when I came to Rock Nation, when I left Rock Nation, it was I think it was one of the most modern oncology centers in the Caribbean. And she knew she wanted to provide youth across the world with scholarship opportunities to come to school here in the U.S. And she's currently doing that. And among other sort of educational, she's a champion for education across the world and really holding leaders accountable and getting them to promise. You can't tell Rihanna no, right? So working to with Global Citizens and a number of other amazing partners to champion education across the world. So she's someone who knew what she wanted. I've also worked with some individuals who didn't necessarily know what they wanted. And, it's just a matter of introducing them and, calling on them for different, opportunities, or, really just developing a relationship with them and really sort of beginning to know them yourself. So sort of what opportunities and what things they're comfortable with doing. Some of them aren't necessarily comfortable with doing, everything. So you have to know what that is. And I think it's just a matter of talking to them and getting to know them and making sure that you are paying attention and you're putting them in sort of the right positions and right opportunities for where they are in that point in their life. So it really just depends. I mean, I've worked with a number of people across the spectrum, obviously someone like Mariah, who is, already involved with Fresh Air Fund. It was just a matter of, again, just working with her to continue to develop that relationship. She's been on the board with them for over 20 years. So she knows exactly what she wants to do. And, and she's also very active with other organizations as well. And with some of our younger athletes, I've worked with Todd Gurley, who was with the Rams here in Los Angeles. Now he's in Atlanta, but we still love him. And he knew some things that he wanted, but also, really sort of leans on myself and my colleagues at the time at Rock Nation to really sort of help him kind of figure it out. And he's still, he's young, so he's in his early 20s, so he's still, figuring that out and figuring out how to use his voice. So it's just about putting him in those positions where he's going to succeed and be successful within those positions. So it really just depends on the artist, but it requires that you take the time, you get to know them, and you honor that, right? And not try to push your own agenda upon them, and sort of make sure that you're respectful of their boundaries, and push them where you can, but also just be cognizant of what it is that they respond to and don't respond to.
So now you've recently joined Sony. So
yeah.
Here you are, and
Here I
am. Now, how is it different? Because now, of course, you're at a big corporation. It's more like corporate philanthropy, donations, charity from a corporate standpoint. How do you sort of handle that, like the broad base of it, but also getting people involved in the company?
Yeah. So I am almost 3 months in. It'll be 3 months, October 13th. So it's different. Again, it's corporate, right? Versus I'm on the corporate side, corporate giving, versus on the nonprofit side, but still sort of giving in the area of philanthropy and in charity. So I think one is don't necessarily have to raise a lot of money like most foundations do. But it's different in that sense, in that the funds are there and the company has generously put forth these funds, and and are very sort of specific about, especially with the social justice fund that they announced, you know, and really sort of depending on me to help sort of organize that and put some additional strategy and structure to it. So that's where it becomes the same, right? The business of nonprofit management and being good stewards of your fund is what I like to say within the corporate environment, but then also adopting some of those giving processes and opportunities to really be strategic about and developing those opportunities to be strategic about how you're giving and what you're giving to, and making sure that it's still in line with what the company wants to do and their values around philanthropy and giving. So it's different in that, just pretty much in the sense that, you know, the funds are donated by the company versus versus me sort of going out and raising the fund. So it's interesting to be on this side of the coin. You know, I've always been on the nonprofit side of the coin, so I still have that nonprofit mindset where, you know, nope, I need this donated, I need that donated. I don't have to spend money here, I don't have to spend money there. So I do come with that intuition that I feel is helpful. And again, I use the term of being good stewards of the fund, because it's also my responsibility to make sure that these funds are used in an impactful way, and that they're going to organizations that are doing the work in the areas that we've sort of outlined around social justice and racial equity and civic engagement. But I'm also very familiar with a lot of the groups that are, you know, at the table. So it's rewarding, because I know that these community groups are out here doing amazing work, especially around social justice. And given the plight that we're in now with the social unrest, it's important that, you know, that we continue to support these groups, especially on the community level. The foundation level is great, you know, as well, because they also support a lot of the community organizations. So it's rewarding, and, you know, in my opinion, to be on this side of the coin and to continue to sort of make a difference in these communities, along with all of my colleagues at Sony, who are also tasked with the responsibility of identifying causes and things that we can get involved with. And there's, you know, different task forces across the company that are put in place that I have the pleasure of speaking with and just guiding and really just sort of helping to bring some additional structure to our model. So I'm excited to continue that work here at Sony.
So as you alluded to, we were just in this really interesting time in our world right now. I mean, with the COVID-19 crisis, obviously, and then obviously with just the sort of upsurgence of awareness of the issue of racial inequity and the desire for that to change strongly, which I think the music industry has been kind of a leader in, which has been great. What do you say to people who say, you know, it's great to donate money, but should we be doing something other than that? You know, I mean, obviously in a time like this, we want to donate, but we don't want to just donate and then forget it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I paid I donated my money, so I'm done.
I say, what is that other? Tell me, talk to me. I'm open. You know, I'm very collaborative, but I also agree with that comment. And you know, one of the things that we that I've asked our task force and our different groups within Sony to do is, you know, determine sort of what causes are you willing or able to develop relationships with, or what organizations you're able to develop relationships with, and really sort of earmarking dollars, right, to make sure that they are going towards the community programs, right, and not towards administrative cost or anything of that level. So and that's important as well. You know, a lot of organizations need, you know, sort of those um, dollars that aren't, earmarked for specific programming. But, I feel that with us, it's important to earmark those dollars because we want to make sure that they get back to the community and that, and that they actually touch the community. So um, I don't proceed to have it all. So there are great ideas out there about, sort of how we could do this better. I'm definitely, I'm always open to learning. I'm a student of the business forever. So I don't perceive to know all the answers here.
Yeah, I mean, none of us do, right? Especially right now, I feel like in 2020, all bets are off. We can all pretend. We like let our hair down and be like, okay, this is how I really look because we're all in this together.
Oh yeah, I was putting on makeup right before I got on here. I'm like, whoo, I don't scare anybody. But yeah, no, I love the transparency with these video calls. Half the time, I jump on and, my coworkers, it's just like a regular day. Sometimes they have on makeup, sometimes they don't, so it's sometimes people are dressed up, sometimes they aren't. But I just love that flexibility. That's just kind of a side. I love that flexibility in the morning. So the only time I get dressed up is for these models.
Exactly, me too. Put on lipstick. It's all good.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely love this.
so are you feeling at this time, I mean, I'm interested in the working at Sony and the corporate structure, like when you guys so you have a fund, I mean, in other words, you don't have to go out and do all your fundraising, even though you enjoy that because
Yeah.
you have a fund. It's more like you can now administer a fund and figure out the proper allocation. How do you get employees involved in that? I mean, it seems like there must be opportunities for that.
No, I mean, it's really driven by the employees, honestly. We created these task force within each label at Sony, and they all have an allocation of the fund. They do, a request for a proposal, if you will, to organizations who they feel, they would want to sort of give to. They all come together and make those decisions, as a team. I give them guidelines on, what to look for, the 501c3, sort of all the mechanics of how to sort of identify the organization. But there's no way that I could, identify alone sort of identify all of these organizations. But we wanted to give them that ownership, and that, quite honestly and transparently, that was in place even before I got here. So that was and something that I'm grateful for, given the structure of Sony. So yeah, so they have the ownership, of making, those suggestions, of making those recommendations. It's a group effort within the different task force within the labels. There's also some stuff that some partnerships that sit, at the one Sony level. So it would be myself and my other colleagues across the other business divisions, just in terms of, which partnerships do we bring to the table that are impacting sort of Sony as a whole or the music industry as a whole, and how can we sort of, make sure that we are maximizing these relationships as well. So it's a great model. It gives them ownership and engagement, and empower within their labels to really sort of make these recommendations. And then they go through a full-on sort of vetting process, with my department and our government affairs team and our legal team, and and that type of stuff. But yeah, they have that ownership at the label level. So it keeps them engaged, and listen, I came in, I think, in July. The fund was announced in June, and these groups were ready. They had already sort of identified, organizations. I mean, and they're just smart, smart individuals. They were asking the right questions, and I was like, "Whoa, is my job going to be this easy?" So, I give them kudos. But I say that to say that they take it serious, and it's something that's really important to them. And it was very refreshing, when I came, not to have to sort of convince anyone that this is important. They were all already geared up and ready. And a lot of them give their own personal time. A lot of them sit on boards. A lot of them have been involved with organizations. So it was something that they were really excited to be a part of. So that will continue.
That's great. So I understand you guys have a voter campaign right now as well. How's that going?
So actually, we're launching a few things this week. Fingers crossed we can. We're kind of like in the approval phases of everything, but it's your voice, your power, your vote, and I'll make sure that you guys have all of the information there. But it's Sony Music Group and Sony ATV came together, and we wanted to do again kind of a one Sony, if you will, campaign where, given the importance of this election, we wanted to just make sure that we partnered with different community organizations where we could provide access and information and resources about registering, about educating people around all things voting, whether that's key races, key dates. If you go on any of the Sony music labels socials right now, you'll see key dates. Today is early voting here in California, among other states as well. So just making a plan, making sure that people have a plan to vote. We've partnered with 8 or 9 different partners, voting partners that sort of span across 25 markets, 25 sort of states here in the US. And they all have resources and information that that people can tap into and learn about their voting status. And we cover all populations: the Black population, Latinx, the Asian population, LGBTQ plus population, and who else? We also have a faith-based organization that we're working with, When We All Vote. You name it, we've partnered with these guys and just made sure that they had the resources to really sort of continue the great work. They're on the ground doing the work. They're on the ground fighting these different voter suppression tactics. I think right now the governor in is it Houston has sort of they're not releasing polling locations, so there's just a number of things going on. And we wanted to just make sure that we used our talent and our platform to really raise and sort of amplify the messaging around voting and the importance of voting, but then also providing tools and information for people to go out and get their vote counted for this election.
I love hearing about your partnerships because I feel like making connections is sort of the heart of this industry. I mean, that's sort of what we can do is connect people and try to help people, teach people about what the issues are and help people, become empowered.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of that.
We're trying to do our part, but our artists are engaged. So please, everybody on here, it's knowyourworth.community. I will make sure that the team here has all the information, and feel free to amplify. We have toolkits, social media toolkits on our website, and you'll be able to download and plug and play. So looking forward to getting that up and rolling this week.
Awesome. So I'm just interested, since you've been doing this for so many years, do you ever have people come up to you and say, hey, I'm one of the kids that you helped,
I do.
50 years ago?
I do. And the great thing, most of those were at the Magic Johnson Foundation and Rihanna's charity. So I do have them like ping me on my online. I do actually keep in touch with a number of the scholars from the Magic Johnson Foundation. And actually one of them I've been able to partner with a few times on a number of different, they're well into their careers now. So they're new leaders, and it's exciting. It's exciting to come back and work with them and watch them grow. So all the time, definitely keep in touch with a number of different people.
That's so cool. That's got to be so rewarding to do that. So I'm looking at the chat, and someone asked if we can put your contact info in the chat so that so that they can stay in touch with and figure out what you're doing, to stay being a part of what you're doing.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we can do that for you for sure. And then I think my last question to you is just, are you feeling hopeful for the future? Are you having,
For the future, just in general.
it's a dark time?
Yes, I am
Yeah,
hopeful.
just in general.
Yeah, I think I mean, we will definitely get through this. We are a very resilient being, and we are smart humans, and we will get through this. So I'm hopeful. I'm grateful for this time, unfortunately, that I had to come under these circumstances. But for me personally, it's really been a time for me to really just rest, quite honestly, just not in the hustle and bustle of what my life was, pre-COVID. I've been really disciplined about, social distancing and staying home and reducing, my what do you call it?
Carbon
My
footprint.
yeah, well, carbon footprint, or even just, the possibility of contracting, the
Oh yeah,
virus.
for sure.
So reducing that activity is like, I'm at the store once a week versus, well, I was literally going to the store every day because I live across the street from the store. So, but, just reducing that footprint and, staying home as much as possible. So I'm grateful for those moments with family. I'm grateful for those moments to enjoy my home. I'm grateful for those moments to sort of connect with myself and really just slow down. But I know that we will continue to beat this thing. We know what to do. We know how to do it. So I'm hopeful that I don't think things will go back to normal. But whatever the new normal is, I'm open to embracing it and really just continuing and moving on with life. So I've been blessed where I've been able to switch jobs in the middle of a pandemic, which is, unheard of. So I don't take that for granted. And, it's almost a perfect time because I'm able to really like get in and study and, and pay attention. And I have, time. I'm not at events every night or meetings or traveling or, any of those things. So I have that time to really sort of hone in on my craft, and continue to learn and, meet great people like you guys and do things that I haven't really done. Pushing myself out there more, being on the front versus behind these amazing brands. So it's it's a time of just me sort of really focusing on me and learning and taking advantage of this quiet time, because we all know it's coming back. The economy is going to roll back and we're going to be thrusted back into these lives. So there's definitely some sad things about it, and just in terms of the hundreds and thousands of lives we've lost. I think it's somewhere over 207,000 or 210,000, now, and the millions of people that have been impacted by COVID. So that part isn't obviously something that we're happy about. But we just have to pray and do our part to get us back to a moving sort of society. And I think that's all we can do, and really sort of take advantage of this time that we have with each other.
And to bring it full circle, I would go back and say, taking your own advice from the beginning of your career to young people who are attending and, starting out, just volunteer, give of your time. That's one of the best ways to
give of your time. And people always ask me, how do you get involved? How did you start? Like I literally started volunteering, but I say that that's a good way to, especially if you want to get involved with different organizations or learn about a certain type of organization. If you're interested in starting your own nonprofit and you want to learn about just the business, just go volunteer. I mean, and small, you can go to your local community center, your local Boys and Girls Club, your old elementary school, your old high school. Like there's so many things that you can do. You can support another friend's, charity. You can mentor a kid, or, whatever it is. There's so many things that you can do if you want to learn the business. And that's the best way, because a lot of these organizations, they need the manpower. And they need skill sets. So if you're a publicist, if you do digital media, if you do legal, if you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, volunteer your services a couple days a week to these organizations. And it will go, especially community organizations. Those are the nonprofits that are in the community, i.e. your Boys and Girls Club, your YMCAs, those groups, and other sort of community groups that are in these communities around the country that need your help. And it's a good way to learn the businesses, and it's a good way to learn about the things that they are working on, because they are experts in those areas, and they know how to get in and to service the communities around, around those efforts. So, I definitely say, to use my own words, is definitely the best way to learn an organization in a nonprofit.
Plus giving of yourself, at the
Giving
end of the day is something
something great,
important.
yeah.
Well, Towalame Austin, it's been such a delight to talk to you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Yeah. So we'll talk to you soon. And everybody else, come back tomorrow. There will be more.
Bye.
See you then. Take care.
Bye-bye.